Save the Semantics, episode 188. It is October 9th, 2022. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some stuff, about some shit, whatever's on my mind. It's common topics of interest, controversy, drama. You got it all. It's all here. This past week's been pretty decent on my end. I'm feeling a little out of it. But I'm doing all right. It's one of those things where things are decent, but I'm just kind of meh. You know what I mean? It's sort of this dissonance that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless you do a little introspection and you're like, oh, okay, that makes a little sense as to why I might be feeling that way. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of I haven't been sleeping super great. It sounds like it sounds like I never get good sleep. So, it's always at a certain point, I might really have to kind of be like, to buckle down and be like, hey, listen, you need to sleep better. For real this time, right? Like, I feel as though I've been saying that I need to get better sleep for a while now, and I haven't really necessarily acted on it. It's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to stick to a routine. Or at least, start a new routine that is going to make me feel better, because I'm just going to stick to my old habits, generally speaking. So, yeah, it's a little hard to start up something new and stick with it. So, I just, I think I'm just a little tired right now. I beat Xenoblade 3 last night. And I'm happy that I got through it. I was satisfied with the ending. But as with every game that I love and have put in a lot of time and just, a lot of myself into, I feel sort of drained a little bit. Like, I'm like, damn, it's like, it's over now, kind of, right? I mean, there's still so much to do in the game, side content and post game content, but yeah, I mean, like, once I get through the main story of a game that I have put in, a lot of my focus and energy and time into, and that I have really sort of that's very much kind of resonated with me. It's hard to kind of, I don't know, it's hard for me to just be like, okay, time to sort of not move on, because I'm still going to be playing it, but it feels a little different once you beat the game, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I've sort of, I was really at the end of the game for a while now, and so I kind of had been putting it off for the longest time, really. I mean, I had been doing, like I mentioned, I'd been doing a lot of other side content and stuff like that, but I've sort of been, I've just been delaying the inevitable, really. And now that once I've gotten to the point where I've completed the story, it's a different feeling. But yeah, so I'm like, it's very bittersweet, I think, is when once you beat the game, you're like, okay, now I can sort of engage with, like, the community a little bit more. I can look at posts, I can look at discussion posts without fear of being spoiled. I think this is probably the best that I've done for this game in terms of not getting spoiled on key crucial elements of the plot. I've talked about this before, but for 1 and 2, I've gotten spoiled on some pretty big moments. again, that didn't take away my enjoyment of those games, obviously, because you know, I'm one of the biggest fans. Um, but I think I did a really good job this time around. I only got, I didn't even really get spoiled. I just got kind of, I just saw like an image of something, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I didn't know the context of it. So technically, I didn't get spoiled on that, but I don't know. I think I did a good job, and I think it didn't hinder my enjoyment of the ending of the game. Um, it didn't, take away, whatever impact that the game had overall. So I think that was good. I think going forward with other games that I really want to play. So for example, I want to play. So I found out that Nier Automata came out like this past week, which is kind of crazy. I thought it was gonna come out. I thought it was gonna come out next month, but it came out on Friday of last week. So, and that's a game that I've heard a lot of great things about. That's something that's definitely on my list of games that I want to play, and of course I'll be talking about that when I do eventually get to it. So, and I know that I know the gist of the game a little bit. There are some things that I kind of already know about in the game, but I want to stay. For all other things considered, I want to stay like in the dark about that, about the plot elements of that game. So, I kind of like the approach of how I approached Xeno 3 in terms of, you know, semi quote unquote media blackout in that sense, where I wasn't I avoided really any like Nintendo related news just in case. Stayed pretty much clear off of Twitter. I try not to look up anything related to Xenoblade in general on YouTube, because YouTube is probably the worst in terms of spoiling things. So yeah, and I think I did a pretty good job at that. So, and really the thing that I got spoiled on, I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I did. But it was such bullshit. Like, it was not even, it was in a Fire Emblem meme subreddit where I saw the image. Like, I saw it and I'm like, what this looks like something that from it. And then it clued me in. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then again, I was like, it was in my head. Like, I already saw the image. It was in my head, but I didn't know the context of it. So I had no idea what it was exactly. So I guess I'm still a little salty about that, but it's okay. It wasn't too bad. So I think, you know, other than that one incident, like, I'm pretty happy about how I handled things. So yeah, going forward, I think just avoiding like looking up things on YouTube, no Twitter, and kind of being a little more cautious about what subreddits I use for on Reddit. And then I think I'm good to go, honestly. So, but yeah, I am, again, I'm happy that I beat the game, but also part of me is like, it's sort of this like kind of, I don't know what to call it. I just feel a little sad because it's kind of over in that sense, right? Again, there's still so much more to do. There's still so much more to like explore, but the main story, for the most part, for these games are what draws me in, right? So now that's sort of done. It's gonna be I'm gonna be kind of looking at this through a bit of a different lens, I guess. But still, yeah, I mean, what a wonderful game. I don't have anything specific that I want to discuss. A lot of the things that I want to kind of delve into are related to the ending of the game, and I don't know if I really want to talk too much about that right now, just because I'm still sort of processing it, and I also don't want to spoil too much just in case, right? So, I felt, I felt it was a really good ending. I think the, and I was reading up a little bit after I beat it last night and this morning, kind of people's reactions to the ending, and I have kind of a similar feeling to it where it it felt it was, I think it was less emotionally impactful. I don't want to give, again, I don't I'll speak in very vague terms, but I think it was less emotional than maybe one or two in that sense, because I think what we went through early, a little earlier on in the game, was a lot more emotionally impactful in my opinion. So we kind of went over that hurdle in that sense, and so this was just sort of the natural kind of conclusion to the game, where it's like, okay, things get kind of wrapped up, you see where everybody like ends up, and it makes sense. But also, but I also I just want more in that sense, you know what I mean? I think I wanted just a little bit more of an ending, I guess, is what I want to say. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm just sort of, I put, I finished this game with 130 hours, I think. So, which is pretty, I think that's probably the most. Maybe Dragon Quest 11 I put in like 120 plus hours before I beat the main story. So it's a lot, man. That's a lot of time put into something. And also talking about it for so long is really wild. Just kind of thinking about when this game was first announced last year. It was last year, right? Or was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year, right? I think it was back in February when this was announced. Yeah, it was on my birthday. The game was announced on my birthday this year, and now to the point where I've beat the game almost, what, 8 months later, is it's kind of crazy. It's a whole, this thing kind of like consumed my headspace for a long time. I'm feeling both kind of sad and also feeling as though kind of this weight's been sort of lifted off a little bit. This game is still gonna, I'm still gonna be talking about this game probably maybe a little bit more. I don't know, but I think it's just kind of taken over everything for half a year for me. So I think beating it, I'm still going to be, again, I'm going to still be playing it, but I think beating it has sort of taken this bit of a weight off where I can kind of breathe a little bit and maybe look at some other stuff, like play other games, or, I don't know, consume other content, media, whatever, you know what I mean? Because this has really been the one thing that I've just put my, a lot of my free time into, and it's very much worth it for sure, but it is a lot. You know what I mean? So yeah, bittersweet. I think it's a whole experience, man. It's kind of wild when it kind of, when you just like, regardless of what the thing is that you put your time and sort of your attention to, once a project or something is kind of completed, it's there's a mix of emotions for sure. And that's kind of what I'm feeling right now. Like last night I went to bed, I'm like, fuck, dude, holy shit, I feel I'm like lightheaded. I don't know, it's a weird feeling, but yeah, Probably going to play a little bit more today. I don't know how much more. Maybe I'll do some more side questing and stuff. There's still a ton to unlock. There's some other quests that have me kind of intrigued. There's also the DLC stuff that is that come out? I don't know if it's come out yet, but I'm gonna be downloading the DLC, so there's more content there. So a lot of stuff, man. And then next year there's gonna be a whole new, Torna-like story at the end of next year. So there's gonna be more coming anyway. So I'm not gonna I'm not letting there's still plenty of things to look forward to. And I'm very happy about that. And also on top of that, just this past week, I finally got the special edition, which came with the steel case and the art book, and I'm very happy with it. I went over and looked over the art book this morning, and it's really pretty. There's some really beautiful concept art in there. I really I especially like the the initial art of the environments. That's you get the scenery, kind of where a lot of the initial ideas kind of came from, and then building upon that to get to the point of the final product. But yeah, I just love seeing like these vistas and stuff. It's beautiful. A lot of beautiful art to appreciate in it. So yeah, I think I'm happy that I made the purchase. Again, awful experience of buying it from the Nintendo shop. I mean, it was just a fucking nightmare, as I've talked about a lot. But the product itself is worth it, and I like the case. I think the case is really cool. I like the kind of the holographic design of the main cast on the front. I think that's really nice. So yeah, happy that I got that. I looked over it, right after I beat the game, and it's made me appreciate it a lot more. Just the amount of time and effort that goes into making these games is pretty wild. The book itself is just taking into account the artistry of things, right? All of the designs of the characters, the again, the environments, the mechs, the monsters, even though some of that was carried over from 1 and 2, just all of that, the design of the weapons, the specific like objects and items that are in the game. There's just so much that goes into it. So I think it's hard to kind of take into account how much the time that goes into creating art, but I just think it's so from someone who's not an artist themselves, I very much appreciate, and I can acknowledge the hard work that goes into creating these kinds of things, especially like just on this scale too. It's pretty crazy, but really cool to look at. So yeah, I beat the game. Looking forward to going through the other content in the game, but also looking forward to playing some other games as well. I think there's again a lot of games that I have on my backlog, or things that I want to look forward to. So yeah, that's that. Let's get into some drama. There's been a lot of fucking shit going on, man. Which I'm not particularly happy about. So this last week, there's a whole Draymond hit Jordan Poole in practice. First there were the reports of it. I think, his agency or whatever were doing their best to downplay kind of the severity of it, and then that shit leaked, and then it's people got fucking. I mean, yeah, it was just like, God damn, that was not a good. That's not a good look. That doesn't look good. I don't know what Jordan could have possibly said that would have pissed him off that much. I just can't imagine what he would have said, you know? I just feel like it's not a situation, you know, where Zidane headbutts a dude in the World Cup final, you know what I mean? I don't you know, apparently the Italian dude, you know, back in 2006, the Italian dude said some fucking, you know, has said some hateful shit about his family or whatever, and then to elicit that reaction, it's like, okay, all right, I get it, but I don't know what could he have said. He was just probably talking trash about something. I don't know, man. It's it's not a great situation. I'm not happy. I feel I even recall talking about, you know, being last week about, or last, yeah, episode. I recorded a little while back, the last episode about how, you know, how fortunate I am as a Warriors fan to be where I am, and now I'm kind of eating my words a little bit. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I don't know what we should do with Draymond exactly. I know he said that he's taking his leave. I don't know if any other reports came out regarding his suspension. He's obviously going to be suspended, but in terms of how long, we haven't gotten anything about that yet. Suspended for a season? I don't know. I don't know how long he's going to be suspended for. But it's just not a great. It's not great considering he's the, you know, the emotional leader, that kind of, you know, one of the team leaders of the Warriors. I don't know. Does this deduct kind of legacy points from him? Maybe a little bit. Uh, I don't know, man. He just always gets caught up in some bullshit. It's a little hard to kind of it's a little hard to it's hard to defend a lot of the things that he's done, Draymond specifically, over the past, you know, however many years. There's been some things have that he's either said or done. I don't know, man. It just kind of sucks. It sucks. It's just kind of, you know, people have suggested trading him or whatever, and I mean, honestly, I don't I don't know where I am in terms of what we should do with him. In an ideal situation, he is able to kind of reconcile with Jordan Poole. Obviously, it comes down to what Poole says. I don't think he said anything, which is fine. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't have to say anything, but it'll come down to what he wants to do, whether they can like recompensate. But I don't know. It's just kind of. I know Steve Kerr was talking about how he was, you know, punched by Michael Jordan and that sort of thing. But I don't know. It's a different. It's a different time. It's a different environment. And considering the image that they've sort of curated over the years for the Warriors, it's you know, it's not gonna hurt their brand. I mean, it's not gonna help their brand. You know, it's not a great look. So, I wouldn't really be surprised if any significant thing happens. Like if he got traded, I would be kind of like, okay, I guess that's that. I guess that's sort of, you know, they're putting their foot down, the ownership is, and saying this is not, you know, we don't tolerate that kind of shit here. And if he also doesn't get traded, I also wouldn't really be surprised. But I don't know. It's all really up in the air. I don't really think anything new has come out recently, other than Draymond apologizing, quote unquote apologizing, and saying that he has taken his leave. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of unresolved for right now. But it's just really unfortunate, after this kind of storybook season for them, ended with them getting to the finals and everything, and just the beginning of the next season starts with a shitstorm. Really, really unfortunate. But you just gotta kind of take that in stride as a fan, and hopefully they're able to resolve it. I have faith. I have faith that they'll find some way to work around it, and if it comes down to a trade, then I'm like, okay, all right. I was, I mean, this is a completely different situation, but when Monte got traded for Bogut, I was like in I was furious. This was back in, I don't know, middle school or whatever. I was pissed. I was just stomping around all day because I was just so mad. Like I didn't understand like in my head I was still young, so I didn't understand the concept of making these moves and the how trading for players work like in that sense, right? And eventually it led to where we are now. But I don't take those kinds of things like when you're like 13 or whatever. You don't really take that into account. Like you're just mad because one of your favorite players got traded. So, it's what was my point? I think it's different now because maybe he's you could say Draymond is some fans' favorites, but it's just if he gets traded by ownership, if Bob Myers does something like that, I have faith in him because he's made some very bold decisions in the past, and that's worked out in the long run. So I don't know, shitty, but it is what it is, and you just kind of have to move on forward from that. What else? Music. I've been kind of on and off on music. Haven't really listened to anything particularly new recently. I know some stuff came out. I know that Open Mike Eagle came out with an album. There's a lot of albums that I have to listen to, or that I want to listen to and haven't gotten around to. So I got that to look forward to. Maybe I'll listen to some during work. What else? I think that might be it. That's going to do it for this episode. Save the Semantics. Signing off.